Welcome to today's Transform Your Work with Copilot Pages. My name is Manon Knotzer. I'm a product manager here at Microsoft, and I've been helping drive direction for Copilot Pages. And I'm joined by my colleague, Jenna Hong. Jenna, thanks for joining.
Hi.
I heard that you had a few questions about Copilot Pages.
Yeah. Super excited to hear what you've been working on. Thanks for having me. And I've seen some cool announcements recently and would just love to dive deeper with you on what's been going on. So to start, what is Copilot Pages?
Yeah, excellent question. So Copilot Pages are a feature of Microsoft 365 Copilot. And so what is Microsoft 365 Copilot? It's our chat interface for enterprise users. So anyone with an enterprise Microsoft 365 license, whether you have Copilot or not, you will have access to a Copilot chat generative AI. And in that context, if you get a Copilot answer in your chat, that's particularly helpful. Now you can turn it into an editable, durable, collaborative page, and that's what we call Copilot Pages. So you would start here over on the left, and you would click this Edit in Pages button. That would be at the bottom of your response that you want to keep, and that would create a page, and you would open it on the right-hand side of the chat, and you would get that confirmation message like, oh, we created a page for you. And then you can continue chatting with Copilot. That part is sort of personal and private to you. And you would have at the same time the page on the right-hand side, which is everything is editable, the page, the title, everything. And what's convenient here is that you can keep your chat private, but then you can actually share your page and you can collaborate on it with others. So as you continue to go through your chat, you don't have to have every answer on the page, but the ones that you think are relevant, that you want to share, that you want to keep, you just keep clicking that button, edit in Pages, and it'll just tack it on to the page on the right-hand side.
Nice. That's super neat. So collaborating on AI-generated content to tweak and adapt it, and then the ability to share it with people that I want to. What does the availability look like today?
So we launched in September 2024, and the availability is for enterprise users, again, who have Microsoft 365 license. And then both, if you don't have a Copilot license specifically, that's okay. You still have access to the chat, and what it will do is it will work as sort of any generative AI system. It'll pull from public information, the web, etc. But if you do have a Copilot license, then you get this added capability, which is that you can pull from your actual work content. So you can pull from your files and documents, from the meetings you've had, from your Teams messages, from your emails, like all of this good stuff where you've got that like juicy content. You also get that when you've got your Copilot license. And so in both of those instances, what you start with is a chat, and then you can create that page on the right-hand side.
Yeah, so extra goodness with that word context, and love that it's already out there for people to try it out. To back up just a bit, I'm curious about the origin story of Copilot Pages, and I feel like you're the right person to ask. Why did you build it?
Yeah, okay, so excellent question. I was working like, most of our customers, just roughly the same patterns. I would start in chat, and I would start with an intent, like something I wanted to figure out, and I would just start chatting. And what was great about that is that it's super easy access, there's low overhead, I just get right in there and start talking. But it's also a tool that's designed for communication, right? Chat. And so there's a few things like you can't edit the answer that you receive, and then as you continue to chat, the answers sort of scroll away. And I realized like, sometimes I want those answers to just have a longer lifespan. And I want to be able to share them, and I just want to be able to tweak them a little bit because like Copilot might have gotten it like 90% right, but there's a few things that I want to change in there. And so at that point, I realized, oh my gosh, there would be such high value in just having a page on the pane, like on the right-hand side, for example, that you can edit, a place where I can collect the information, where I can share it, where I can collaborate.
Yeah, that's so real. I've definitely encountered those situations myself, and chat feels like a really good first place to start, even if it's not necessarily where we end our flow. So wait, how for you is communication different from collaboration?
Yeah, they're two different things. So communication is information transfer. It's sort of ephemeral in nature, right? Like you might have something, some piece of information that I need, and you're going to share it with me, and then it's done, right? Like I know the thing. That's kind of it. With collaboration, it's a little bit different from that because we would actually be building something together. And so when I take the example of us, like we do this all the time, right? We'll chat on Teams, we've got some things to share with each other, and then when we need to like write that shared report or when we need to like get down to business and write something together, we move over to more like content creation surfaces and in the modern world, we work on that together, like at the same time, whether I'm at home, you're at the office, but we sort of work on it together. And so we figured, hey, that could be the same thing when your partner is AI, right? So chat is a great communication service. And can we deepen it with a collaboration surface where I can actually work with AI and also with my peers?
Mm. You mentioned collaboration with AI, which feels still fairly new and boundless and changing. And so, as a PM at Microsoft, you've been thinking about modern work for a while too. What are
Yeah.
some things that you observed have changed about modern work, especially in today's AI landscape?
Yeah. Excellent question. So let me see if I have a slide for that. Um, Modern work requires a few things. So the pandemic accelerated a trend that had already begun, which is that we need many subject matter experts, right? We typically work in these big companies and people have different information. So we really need to work together with multiple people. And sometimes those people are remote. Again, accelerated by the pandemic, but it was true before and it remains true since. And so being able to work together when you're apart is a super important piece. And in doing that, we end up using those communication tools and those collaboration tools that I was mentioning and other tools. And so we end up having to juggle all these different applications. So the next thing that becomes really important here is blurring the boundaries between those applications. And why would we do that? Because we want to be able to focus on intent, and that's the last point there. The focusing on intent piece has become even more important with generative AI because of that, like, or thanks to that chat format, where you can just go in and just like start with your intent, ask your question, get your answer, and you're not really thinking like, what's the application I'm using? So those three things, working with multiple people, in a distributed way, being able to have all your information in the same place or at least blur those app boundaries, and that allows you to focus on your intent and what you're actually trying to do.
Oh.
So a little bit more about that. When we decided to build Copilot Pages, we decided to build it on the loop technology. Some of you might be familiar with that. And why did we do that? Because the loop technology was really built for that modern workplace. And at a quick glance, so why would we leverage loop? It's because those pages, the loop pages, which we've built the Copilot pages onto, are natively integrated across the whole left side of the screen. So all of the applications here, Copilot pages will natively integrate into them. And that really begins to create that blurred distinction between applications, right? So for example, if I create a Copilot page, I can natively embed it into an email, into a Teams message, into Loop, of course, but also into Whiteboard, which is like a, visual brainstorming tool, or into OneNote, which is my, note-taking memories. So across all of those, you can embed natively, and the same content will stay fresh in all of those different places. So that's pretty helpful in terms of that, like that blurring that we were talking about. And we'll check it out in a minute, but I did want to mention one thing here, which relates to our previous point about like, what's the difference between communication and collaboration? You see that spectrum going on over here at the top of the page. So on the far left, we've got those typical communication apps that we are familiar with, like Teams, like Outlook for email. And on the far right-hand side, we have the applications we're familiar with for completed content. So things that you might want to publish, that you might want to share with customers. And we found that there's an emergence in between those two that's really for the collaboration within my own team. So the content doesn't need to be polished or finished, but it is where we sort of get stuff done and put our ideas together and take shape and maybe, help each other reword things and all of that good stuff. And that's kind of where we think the power of Copilot Pages comes in, is that it sits, across all of that left-hand side, but also very natively in the kind of like collaboration sphere.
Wow. It feels honestly kind of like a game changer and maybe even more powerful because it already fits in our existing workflows. So within this landscape that you're illustrating for us, can you give us an example of how Copilot Pages can be used in a typical workday?
Yeah, I actually used Copilot Pages yesterday on something that we worked on together. So as you know, we work on a project together and we're about midway through it. And about midway through is just a good time. I think it's good practice for us to kind of pause and say, okay, what is working well? Like, what do we need to keep doing? What do we need to change? And so I figured, okay, I think we need a team retrospective at this point. And
Yeah.
I don't have extensive experience like writing team retrospectives. So I figured I'd lean on Copilot to help me just write a first draft. Um, pulling from all the great resources of all the great people who've thought about how to write a good team retrospective. And so I pulled all of that together, and then it sort of didn't end there. Like I didn't want that team retrospective to be in my personal chat. I really wanted to add it to that page so that I could tweak it, make it like relevant to our project, and then share it with you. And that's how I ended up sharing the team retrospective page with you all yesterday. Um, just did it, through Copilot Pages. So if you're
Amazing.
interested, that could be something that we try to run through.
Yeah, that's such a good use case. And I feel like it's kind of something that can be transferred across a bunch of different types of teams and projects too.
Yeah,
I actually have Microsoft 365 up and running now, if you don't mind walking me through it.
let's do it.
Pull it up. Cool. So this is my homepage.
Nice. Yeah, so you're on like the Microsoft 365 homepage here. There's a few things that you can see. Like obviously this is just your home. And in that tab on the left, you can access Copilot Chat. So if you want to just click that open.
Mhm.
Yeah, sweet. So when I look at this, what I see is that you have the Copilot license. So you have that option to toggle to your work content or to stay on the web.
Cool. And I'm actually seeing these like example cards here that are catered either to a work context or something that's more grounded in the web.
Yeah, exactly. And those example prompts are just like an easy way to get you started. If you're not really sure, what you can do with Copilot, they're kind of like a good little teaser. Um, but in this case, like, do you want to do the retrospective version?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. So the prompt that I wrote when I was doing this yesterday was just kind of simple. It was help me write a team retrospective for a project that has ups and downs.
Nice. Wow. It's going. Actually looks pretty good. It has some things that went well, some challenges, and it's a pretty good template.
Action items. Yeah. Okay, cool. Um, so in that case, what you can do is go check out that edit in pages button and just hover over it for a second. So what you'll see here is that it says, you can add your content to that editable page. So just hovering over will give you a quick sense of like, what is this thing going to do? And then you
Yeah.
see that you've got that drop down on the right-hand side. So if you go ahead and click that, this is a newer feature that we've added where we realize sometimes you want to just create a new page every time you start a new chat, but sometimes there's a difference in longevity, right? Your chats are kind of like quick and frequent, you start them, but your pages have like a longer life. And so if, for example, you wanted to start a new chat, but then start adding to a page that you had created in the past, you could go ahead and click that.
Ooh,
Sweet.
okay.
And that would show you all the pages you've ever created with Copilot. So all of your Copilot pages would be there. But for now, I think we can just click out of that and just start a brand new page for our retrospective.
Great. Okay, I see it. I see that shared canvas you were talking about.
Neat. Yeah, exactly. So everything here you can edit. Like help me write a team. Maybe you can change that one.
Okay, so I can edit the title directly here.
Totally.
Maybe I'll say like team retrospective,
Yeah,
then fun emoji.
nice. And you can see how that updated the name of the file as well, just
Yeah,
as you go.
so fast.
Yeah. So there's something that I want to point out here. I mean, there's a few things I want to point out, but one of them is if you click on any of the text on that page, just left click for me, you see that little logo. So that's you, and then there's the Copilot logo. And if you hover over it, it'll expand, right? Jenna Hong plus Copilot. And if you click again, it'll tell you you and Copilot and also the time. And what does that do? Basically, it says you're the one who did the work of quizzing Copilot, of getting this page together, and you wrote it with AI. So if I'm reading this page later on, like I think at some point maybe you'll want to share it with me, I have that transparency of understanding this was written with AI, it was written with Jenna, she like worked it. And also I get to know like what time and date you wrote it. And that's super important for me because I think for many people, because our projects just change so fast over time. I want to know like, was this written before or after a big decision? Is this like a year old? Is it a week old? And so I'm using this all the time. It's kind of my like pet favorite little feature within the page. It's just being able to click that, and we call it attribution, right? So this text is attributed to you and Copilot. And if you were to click the title, for example,
Ooh.
yeah, that's just you. There's no Copilot there.
Mhm.
So that's like something that I would mention. And then there's a few other cool things you can do on this page. One of them is if you sort of go anywhere on the page, you can do like a forward slash. Yeah, and
Ooh.
that'll pull up all these different types of content that you can bring into the page. So like tables, different kinds of like formatting, different like Q&A, a call out. There's all sorts of things that you can do. I use it, like I'm always adding dates to my files just so like at a quick glance I can know, all right, what clearly I'm like, I care about dates. But so you can just type any kind of content in there.
Oh, nice. Awesome. There's a ton in here. I can like app mention people. Let me try the date thing. Okay, cool. I see an interactive calendar here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And it'll say today, and like as the days progress, it'll say, oh, this was 3 days ago or whatever it is. So it's fun to just play around with those pages.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Another thing I'd point out is obviously data protection matters a lot for us here at Microsoft and security. And here we're pulling information from the web, so it's likely not super confidential. But if you were on your work tab, for example, and you were pulling information that came from your emails, from your files, that would be confidential. And so the chat itself would inherit the highest confidentiality of any file it pulled from. And then when you created a page, it would also inherit the highest confidentiality tag, including if you have multiple answers that you add to your page. Some answers might be like not super confidential, some answers might be super confidential. The page will always inherit the highest sensitivity label. You can see that right next to the title. There's a little shield there, and that's where you'll be able to see, okay, like what's the confidentiality level of my page?
Nice. Wow.
Yeah. And that's like particularly important, for example, if you share the page.
Okay. Is it this button right here?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Nice.
So you have two options for sharing. One is more classic. It's just it'll sort of create a URL and you can paste that URL anywhere. The one that I get super excited about is copying a component. So if you go ahead and click that, what it will do is it'll take your page and sort of draw a line around it. And that's where you're able to integrate it natively into all those different applications I was talking about earlier.
Cool. So I'll copy that. Awesome. And so when you were showing the applications, I noticed Teams, and that's something that I use quite a bit with my teammates.
Yeah.
So I'll navigate over to Teams today. I can send it over to my colleagues, Obi and Patrick.
Yeah. So you would just go ahead and Control V or like copy it there and see how that page like shows up with the little border. So that's it. It's like natively integrated.
Yeah, wow. So it's right there. Okay, I'm gonna send it. And then I see Obi is already opening it and seeing it. And I can actually see her presence too for here
Yeah.
if she has this component open.
Yeah. And that's super, I mean, these are all parts of that collaboration work that I was talking to you about, where it's really important, like, to know, for example, working together when we're apart, if we're in two different time zones, it might be really exciting to say, hey, oh my gosh, you're on the page at the same time as me. Great, like, let's just have a quick conversation. Um, or as someone writes to, it's like completely live, by the way, it's just super freaky fast. So there's no like merge conflicts, any of that. So anything that Obi would want to write, you would see it like instantaneously. And you've met her where she is, right? Because Obi might also work in teams a lot, and she hasn't needed to like open any kind of application or do anything specific for this. It's just there for her.
Yeah, this is so cool. I can see her like writing a comment. I want to see like the attribution stuff that you mentioned earlier. Oh, I see her comment. Super cool. Oh, there it is. Nice.
Yeah, so you've got that whole like it's a character level attribution. So even if you're just fixing typos for each other and things like that, you can see like, oh my gosh, thank you for fixing my typo. So it's super precise, basically. Like within the same paragraph, when you clicked there earlier, we saw like there was stuff that you'd written with Copilot, there was stuff that you'd written alone, and there was stuff that Obi had written.
Yeah, for sure. So now I'm thinking a little bit about how Teams is kind of our go-to within my immediate team, but sometimes we work with external partners too. Is there a way for me to share my page, my component with external partners?
Yes, yes, there is. And this was definitely like a highly asked for part of this because obviously like sharing with external partners is super important. So if you go back into that share menu, and this works by the way both for the share link and for the copy component. If you click the copy component piece again there, um, what you will see is you've got a little settings ring. And in that settings ring, the default will be, hey, this is available to people in my organization if they have access to the link. You can make it a little bit more strict and say like, hey, this will only be available to the people that I specifically decide to share with within my organization. Or you can say, hey, actually, there's people I want to share it with. They're not in my organization, but I'm going to specify exactly who they are. And so that's what you could do now, for example, if you wanted to share externally.
Yeah, let me type in your email address just to test it. Oh, and it tells me that it's outside of my organization. Cool.
Yeah.
So if I were to apply this, okay, now I have the copied link. Um, and maybe I'll just try it. I'll go to Outlook, type in your email, and then we'll be unfurls. Awesome. And I'm seeing Obi there. I'm seeing me there. Super cool.
Yeah. And honestly, I love this for emails in general, but I really love it for when I write newsletters, which does happen to me quite often. And like boy, have I written newsletters and then realized I have like this one typo, this one thing I need to change, and I'm emailing everyone like, hey, sorry, actually update. Um, and I don't do that anymore because now I can just add the component in there. And if there's any updates I need to make, I make them straight in the component. And I have full faith that the recipient will have the latest information in that moment. And that's just super great. It's also good for things like sign-up sheets where they're not going to have to, again, like open a different application. It's again that whole thing about blurring app boundaries. They can sign in right from the email that they've received. I mean, it's honestly like a completely new way of working at that point.
Wow. Yeah, that is so real. No more email anxiety. So I'm just going to send this off to you, I guess. I think like what's cool here is that um, OB is already making the team retrospective so much better. And so I imagine if I were to email this to you, you would also go and improve like different sections and add other types of insights that I wouldn't have been able to add if I were just writing myself.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I think that's pretty much it in terms of what I wanted to like run you through. I mean, that's it, right? It's not a super complex experience.
Yeah, you're right. It does feel pretty intuitive. And thanks for walking me through it step by step. How can everyone else get started?
Yeah, so we have this we built this little like try this at home If you can see my screen, I put together this, hold up, we'll get there in a second. Yeah, put together this little at-home activity for Copilot Pages, and it essentially runs through what we just did today. So going to the Microsoft 365 Copilot home, going to the Copilot chat tab of that, and then you can use a suggested prompt. So those were the little squares we were seeing, or you can write your own, or in this case, we just dropped in the same prompt that we like went through together, drafting a team retrospective. Then the next step is to click that Edit in Pages button, create a new page, or add it to an existing one, and then go ahead and share that in Teams or in Outlook. So it's just like a little quick cheat sheet. I think we can share that with everyone here today. So you just have it, you can share it with your team. It's totally a free-for-all at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. At this point, I'm just really excited to take this back to my team and show everyone how it works. And
Sweet.
to make sure that I'm telling my coworkers the right story, let me see if I have this straight. So we see the key value of Copilot Pages in this ability to first prompt Copilot for a very like rough first draft, and then collect it on a surface that's like already pretty rich from what you showed me. I can edit it directly. I can add cool new content types, change permissions, all that jazz. And then that content now made durable on a page, like you said, could be shared across the apps that we already use, like Teams and Outlook. And so the way that people can further refine and workshop it, it really feels like it allows us to unlock truly collaborative and like very multiplayer AI experiences, which is super cool. I think I'm sold.
That's amazing. And that's exactly it. I mean, you nailed it. Those are the value propositions that we think make Copilot Pages, hopefully pretty powerful for you and for your team.
Yeah. Okay, so now that I'm all excited about it, I'm now kind of grounding myself by thinking about how our organization deals with data. So where are these pages stored?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So because you start in your private chat, and the sort of the origin story of your Copilot page is your own and it's private, we made the decision to have it stored in your SharePoint embed so that it belongs to your organization, of course, but it's sort of in your own space within that company, and you can share it. All of that can be done, of course, but where it lives natively is your own storage space.
Okay. So personally, I work in a big organization, as you know, and sometimes people come and go. So how would I be able to like go about changing the owner of a page if someone were to leave the company, for example?
Yeah, totally relevant because it's in their own space. That raises the question of like, all right, what happens if you leave? Well, the good thing is that if you have those valuable pages that you've shared with other people that the business relies on, when someone leaves the company, their manager still has 30 days to recover and retrieve all of their files, all of their Copilot pages, even though they were in that sort of, user's SharePoint embed.
Yeah.
These are super good questions to think about and to think through. And of course, like we have a lot of administrator capabilities that we've inbuilt into these products that are inbuilt with SharePoint, that are inbuilt with Loop that we built the technology on. And so we actually figured we might need a whole webinar session for this. And so we actually have an upcoming webinar specifically tailored to admin capabilities and admin questions. So if that's something that you think is relevant for you or relevant for your team, definitely come again. We're going to have that webinar, and my colleagues just have like all that good nitty-gritty information about how do we make this work well for administrators.
Yeah, awesome. That sounds great. The details really do help in kind of envisioning how this will come together. Cool. So while I still have you, I have to ask as well, what's coming next for Pages? What else can we get excited about?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a good forum for this. We're pretty excited. We have three things that are either brand new or coming soon. And the two with the check marks they're out already and they're super exciting. The first one is the one that I showed you that we sort of internally we just call it multi-page. And it's born from that realization that pages and chats don't have the same life cycle. They don't have the same longevity. And so while I want to just start new chats and I don't want to be hindered and think, oh, where in my long history of chats was this thing? I start a new chat, but then I want to build it into an existing page. And so that's that ability there to surface recent pages or any page you've created in the past and add your answer there. And also, if you have, for example, a long chat that covers multiple different topics and you want to just create a page for each of those topics, you can do that. So that's that first part there around multi-page, and that is so hot off the press. We are at 100% production as of Friday, so you can definitely go in and try that and let us know how it feels for you. The second thing that we're also really excited about is that you can now open your pages in mobile. And we know that mobile devices are just such an important part of people's workdays. And any page that you have created with Copilot, like on your browser in that large screen, now you can open it on your mobile phone. And when you open it, you can edit it, you can format it. Like there's a lot of things that you can do from your phone for that existing page. And yeah, and then the third thing that is worth sharing, and this is like coming soon, is that we have now the capability of having rich artifacts both within your chat and on your page. So things like data flow diagrams, charts, code, things that you might want to interact with, like click on, explore in some depth. That interactivity now exists in the chat, and it also ports over to the page. So whatever was interactive on the chat, you can continue to interact with it on the page. So just a typical example would be something where you're writing a little bit of code and then you want to preview it, or you're writing like the description of a data flow diagram and then you want to see it. So those are some of the things that you will very soon be able to do both in the chat and on your page.
Wow, so cool. I feel like I'm holding back excitement, but it feels like you guys are really expanding in every single way, from the chat to the page to the way that we interacted on our devices to even the types of content that we can see in both the chat and the page. Can't wait to try it.
Yay. Thanks, Jenna. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
You had some really good questions and I really appreciate it. So I figured maybe we can also field some questions from the folks on this call. Thanks, Jenna. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, you two. This was fantastic. We do have a couple of questions in the chat that hopefully you can help us with. There were a few different variations on this, so maybe we'll start with this and we can maybe go into a few details. But there were a few questions about how do Copilot pages differ from Loop pages? Like we know got a lot of people who already use Loop pages, and they'd love to know what the differences are. Are there any differences in capability or where they would appear and things like that?
Yeah, oh, that's a really good question. So in many regards, they're the same thing, right? They are loop pages. They are surfaced in, so when I was describing earlier about like where the page is stored, it's stored in your SharePoint embed, which makes it like it's stored in a specific location. It also surfaces in your personal workspace. So that's something that you can find if you are familiar with the Loop app. You can open that, you'll have your own personal workspace. In there, you'll have all of the list of pages you created in Copilot. So the same thing, the same way of sharing, like a lot of the capabilities you saw today are native to Loop capabilities. Now, one thing that's worth pointing out is that, many of you are familiar with Loop. Some of the folks who come in from Copilot Chat are not familiar with Loop. And so we also have a surface for them to view the pages they created in Copilot independently of wanting to or needing to learn, how to operate the Loop application, for example, how to open, again, we were talking about all the different applications we work with, being able to sort of stay within the scope of, hey, I'm in Microsoft 365, I'm in my home. So we have something that I didn't specifically point out, but I'll share a screenshot in a minute of so we've got that tab with the chat, and then we have a tab with that's called Pages, and it shows you the pages you created in Copilot Chat. So the same content as your personal workspace. And that's just there for, it's targeted mostly at people who might not be familiar with Loop and might not go looking for the Loop app. But other than that, really the capabilities there are the same.
Thanks
Does that
so
answer
much.
the question, Rowan?
Yeah, I think so. There was also a question about how they relate to workspaces and the Pages tab that I think you just talked about. So I think that was kind of covered there as well.
Okay.
I think there was also a question that some people have on the other side have maybe not seen like Pages and things before, and I was wondering if you could maybe show again some of the things which are available in like the / menu and the different things that you can kind of add to Page. There were some people curious about the types of things that you can actually do with a page once you've created it.
Yeah, for sure. I think I might call on Jenna again to.
Yeah.
Are you happy sharing your screen? Okay.
Sure. So we're back to the team retrospective.
Yeah, and just before you show what answer that question, I wanted to point out that Pages, what I call the Pages module. If you go far left, Jenna, you've got that lit up Copilot. Yeah, exactly. So you have the Copilot chat, and right beneath that, you have this thing that says Pages. And if you were to click that, it would just show you the pages you created with Copilot, like the whole list of them, and then you can open those pages one by one, kind of in like that larger view. Yeah, and actually this is a good place to do it as well. You can / here, and maybe we can do a quick lowdown of the different capabilities. There's a lot happening on this page. There's a lot of folks here, so. Interesting. Folks, it looks like the demo gods have given us a quick bug to work with, so.
Go back to Copilot and see what happens. Oh.
Okay.
Giving us a weird ghost menu.
Yeah, a strange ghost menu. Maybe you can create a new page. Maybe this is a good way for us to see what a new page creation looks like.
Nice.
Yeah,
Awesome.
there
So
you
I
go.
just
Just
hit
blank
this
page.
little plus button.
Yeah. Okay,
Cool.
so there's quite a few things you can do here, and now that you're in this large page, there's 2 additional options that we didn't see earlier when we were in that side-by-side view, and I'll call them out. This is another way for me to know, because I'm familiar with the product. I know that you have the Copilot license, and so you're able to do 2 things directly on the page. You can draft page content, and that'll sort of give you one more Copilot entry point that you can start working with. Yeah, with some suggestions, and once you sort of click enter on that, it's already inbuilt on the page. Then we can, yeah, I guess we can launch it, or we can show, if you had a lot of content on the page, we would also be able to summarize it.
Yeah, let me send this and then we can try to summarize it then.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Our
ghost menu is back.
It's just out to, oh. Nice. Okay, so it gave me a bulleted list too, like it structured it in some way.
Yeah. I think let's keep going down the page and we can continue showing all the different things in the / menu. And then we'll just accept that some days demo gods aren't with us, but just a few of the things you can do. You can add a table, you can add a checklist, you can add like a numbered list. There's a few like cool things, like you can have like Q&A, you can have a call out, which we saw earlier, and then you've got different types of paragraph formatting, and then you have integration. Oh yeah, these were the Q&A, voting tables, those kind of like richer types of content. And then lastly, all the way at the bottom, if you were to / that menu, there are integrations with other third-party, like first or third-party tools. And those can be really powerful if, yeah, sorry, I'm like trying to see them from a small screen. But anyway, I encourage everyone to just try to open a page, click that / menu, and sort of explore and play around with the different content types. And you'll find that there's quite a bit of richness there. There you go, like that voting table.
Yeah. And then you can also
Thank-
/ within a table. I think these are super powerful too.
Mm.
Good idea. Like,
Thank you. And one of the other questions we had was, which licenses do you need to have in order to benefit from Copilot Pages in order with like Copilot licenses and things like that?
Yeah, so this is the experience right now is really tailored towards like our enterprise customers. So any of the enterprise Microsoft 365 licenses would do. And as I mentioned, whether or not you have that extra Copilot license is you'll still be able to have a form of Copilot chat. If you don't buy the Copilot license, then you're going to miss out on being able to pull information from your work, but you will still have that ability to create pages.
Thank you. And I think we've mostly got through them, but one other question was sort of related to the workspaces and pages again, in terms of in the pages tab that you kind of showed on the left, are those only pages which are made with Copilot chat, or do other things show up there as well?
Those are your pages in your personal workspace. So there's two ways of having a page in a personal workspace. You could, the sort of more common way would be creating it through Copilot Pages, but you could also do like what Jenna did earlier of just clicking that plus and creating new pages. And if you were to open that workspace from your Loop application, if you are familiar with the Loop application, then you could also create new pages right there. And so, yeah, exactly. So that's the My Workspace. If you were to click into that, Jenna, you would see the same exact list of pages that you had earlier, the custom page for demo, there you go. And then in this view, you can like rearrange them. You can create new ones. So technically you haven't created them with the chat, but they all live within that same workspace.
Awesome, thank you. I think we've covered most of the things in the chat. If I missed any, we'll definitely be able to look back and follow up on any of those. But
Nice.
I think that's most of the things from the live chat that we didn't cover already.
Okay, sweet. Does anyone have questions now that they want to surface? It's a good time.
I
Okay.
think we're good for the moment.
We're good. Okay, that's great. Rowan, thank you so much for moderating the chat and surfacing those themes and allowing us to answer some of those questions. I think, it's we went through this pretty fast. It's not a super complex experience, I think. It does have some power, in being able to make that transition that we kept talking about from like the communication surfaces into those collaboration surfaces, and like to be able to bring your team along for that ride as well. So I hope you're able to bring this back. I hope the PDF that we shared with the kind of the take-home exercise will be also helpful. And I think we can sort of end a little bit early. Jenna, thank you so much. Rowan, thanks for fielding the questions. And everyone else, thank you so much for attending. I hope this was helpful for you.